Hello, all my beasties. Welcome to the lair. Welcome to our impromptu Ask Me Almost Anything evening. I figured we all could use some fun and story times and hanging out after the 2-day aneurysm inducing firearms. Stupid. So, most
How
of
many
you know,
squirrels do you know?
but this is Croco. When Croco's here, he's not Tech Squirrel.
Oh, okay.
Um, but that's Croco, my tech squirrel. Hey Ann, hey Gremlin. My brain's fried. I just figured we all needed fun. I figured we all needed to have some fun with how the past few days have gone. So
It's been a rough ride.
I figured I would come and we would talk about all the guns. We can talk about stupid. We could, have some fun before we all head off to bed.
I'm in.
So for the 7 of you here, I'm sure some will piece back in. Uh, Michael, we're not covering that. We're just covering fun and questions and gun talk because I just can't with the stupid. And yes, I know I look like crap. Nobody needs to point it out. I'm just saying. I acknowledge it. I know. I love when people are like, you don't look so good. Yeah, thanks for that news bulletin. I don't own a mirror at home. Didn't know.
Ignore them.
Oh no, I am. Like most of the time, it's from like a place of good. But just my general answer is like, yeah, thanks. I didn't look in the mirror because I don't have those.
I ignore the ginger comments at this point.
It doesn't bother me. I
Oh,
just like to get it out of the way so I don't have to say it 48 times. Well, why thank you, Syndicate? That's very sweet. So
Syndicate, you're the best.
I don't have like specific stuff. I am here to answer questions, discuss, you know, I saw, comments in your chats and things where people were asking me like random gun questions and I was like, I can't answer that here. So
Yeah,
we're gonna
YouTube doesn't like guns.
I don't know. Yeah, we can talk about that later. I don't know how you know that it's specifically that.
I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Because the morning video that I did was monetized, the afternoon was not. And the only difference in terms of content was our conversation after the trial ended.
They'll nail you for smoking on screen.
Well, that too.
Yeah, but
One
here's the
for,
thing. They
one for
haven't
you for the chat, John.
they haven't demonetized me for smoking on screen on virtually anything.
But it depends on who you get their individual.
No, it's not. It's the algorithm.
Yeah, but it none of the gun I went back and looked at the gun content and a lot of people have the exact same thing and
I
it didn't
agree with you, and that's
demonetize
why
them.
I went for manual review. But I'll put it this way: it's interesting because gun conversation. So when I first got monetized, right, and this is a little bit behind the scenes,
Yeah,
I had 14 videos. 10 of them were monetized. 4 of them were not. And I smoke during my streams all the time. The 4 that weren't involved firearms.
well, I'll have to keep my firearms off your channel,
So
even though
it was interesting. That's why in my mind it makes sense because they did not demonetize multiple. I have, I think at this point, 12 monetized streams with me smoking on camera and nobody cares.
They could have also objected to some of the pictures that went up.
But that's what I was thinking, is that
The blood.
the morning stream was the more damaging images than the afternoon, in my opinion. But whatever.
Yeah, what we talked about doesn't violate any of their guidelines on firearms. So
Yeah. No, I don't think it did either, and that's why I sent it for a manual review.
it'll get it. Hey, Div. Um, yeah, it's stupid what does and what doesn't.
Yeah, I just don't know what their algorithm is. I was talking to Cole about it because that's his background, and he's like, I have no idea either.
It's like asking Boozy to define problematic. A slur
Well,
isn't, but Nate's existence is.
well said.
So
Just pulling some of the fun stuff out of the chat.
okay. Yeah, I don't try to apply logic to YouTube. To me,
No.
it's just like herding cats, room full of chaos. Where you're in the middle going, no, 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 all you kindergartners hold hands.
Why would you herd cats? Nuking them is much more efficient.
You never know.
Sorry, that was terrible of me.
But so all my beasties and loves, go ahead and ask your questions, John, anybody. Michael, you can ask lots of questions. Hey,
I'm an open
Cookie
book.
Mon, Steve. Hold on, I'm just saying hi to people. But yes,
Yep,
let's go.
there's that one. But yeah, and I agree about the Canadian government. I've been hearing way too much about them lately. All right, question number 1. Let's have that one.
How do you define a tactical trigger? I can slap the word tactical on anything. If it's black, purple, pink, it has no true definition. It's like saying something is, clinically researched. Okay, by who? There's no standard definition and there's no restrictions on what's tactical versus not. So I'm going to need more than tactical trigger.
Well, that's
I'm
like the
not,
whole.
I'm
That's
not trying to
like
be mean. I'm just saying it's not regulated.
no, but that's the whole problem with like the assault weapon definition. Is it's
Yeah,
whatever Congress
define it
decides
as-
it is at a given point in time. If you have 2 attachments on a weapon, it's an assault weapon.
Yeah, no. All right, there was the other question that's from Michael.
I don't hate them. It's not my cup of tea. But, I don't like guns that Tupperware built. So, doesn't mean I hate them. It's just not my personal choice.
And here was a response to the same thing from elsewhere in the chat.
Oh, MB. Oh, no.
Question.
MB knows me. MB knows how I. MB knows how I roll. Aftermarket triggers instead of OEM. Michael, I mean, it depends. I have plenty of things with. I have plenty of things where I've changed triggers out instead of OEM. But the problem you're going to run into is actually kind of John's world. And that is, you are taking a firearm, swapping out an integral part, and then if you have an incident, the burden is on you to show that it wasn't your switch out of the trigger or that, whatever wasn't the issue, but the firearm or situation itself was. And so it opens a legal liability. So it depends on what OEM trigger you're using. It depends on your weight. The law answer, it depends. But I always tell people if you'd like to, swap out a trigger, and I've swapped them out on many weapons, and you guys all know I gunsmith. You need to take it to someone that's licensed and not do it yourself, because you will open yourself to a world of legal liability.
Very well said. I can't
So
add
that-
anything to that.
Hmm?
No, I was saying very well said. I can't add anything to that explanation.
Do a lot of mine have one swapped out? Yeah, but
You have an FFL.
well, yeah, I do, but a lot of people do, because a lot of weapons, it's like a drop-in thing. But you have to understand the liability you're incurring,
Well,
because you can't then hang it on the firearms manufacturer if there's a problem.
As it relates to the law, and I'm not a professional in that particular field, but as long as you have documentation that it was done by somebody who is qualified to do so, but you have to have that documentation, and you still have some degree of liability on the modification.
Mm-hmm. So, I always caution people on that, you change that part, and now you're going to assume the liability. Like
You
when
always
John,
assume liability, but
like when, okay,
it is additional to buying a factory standard. There's potentially additional liability.
but it goes to the same thing. The case, you and I were arguing back and forth about striker fire. You have that, you change the trigger, you drop it, it goes off. They're going to try to at least mitigate the risk as a corporation and say, prove to me it was a malfunction solely based off of our weapon design and not of you swapping parts out.
No, I mean, well, that gets a little more complicated. And
It depends on what state you're in. And
no, so part of it gets a little bit more complicated just as a general theory of products liability. So, I mean, you have manufacturing defect and you have design defect. Those are the two theories under which you can argue products liability. If you modify it, you can't argue design defect anymore. You also probably lose manufacturing defect if you modify the particular item of the product. And it doesn't have to be a firearm. It could be a washing machine. But if you change it in some way, you lose a lot of methods by which to say that the manufacturer screwed up, if that makes sense.
Yep. So that's, I always caution everybody on that, because I get modification of how do you feel about swapping this for this or changing things all the time. And I'm like, I wouldn't, but that's just me. But if you really want to do it, by all means, but take it to a gunsmith.
Well, it's kind of an interesting confluence because I'm really interested in this right to repair movement. And I don't know what your thoughts are on the subject, but it is an interesting kind of parallel. And I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, I know.
All right.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I think it's stupid. I think I side with right to repair.
Likewise.
Same here.
Which was the more pointless invention, forward assist or grip safety? Neither I can think of more pointless. I'm not big on a forward assist personally.
All
I'm not big
right.
on a grip safety, but I carry my firearms condition 1, which is problematic to some people. So, you have to understand your carrying style. Are you carrying condition 1? Do you know what condition 1 is? Do you understand the implications of carrying condition 1? Are you skilled enough that you're not going to shoot yourself in the foot like my idiot that was reaching for his gun under the seat and fishing around and shot himself in the foot because his holster negated his grip safety?
I have no
So,
idea what anything you just said means.
um, were you not on that stream?
I don't believe I was.
Okay, so
And I think some people in the chat probably weren't either.
right.
Yeah, there's a couple. There's a syndicate leader is asking the question. Is asking that question. I know what you're talking about, but I may be the only one.
Oh, there's a handful of people. Okay, so condition you when you're looking at something that's single action, double action triggers, you can do what they call cocked and locked, which means you have already taken away the first part of the double action by cocking it. There's a round in the chamber, the hammer's back and cocked, and you put the safety on in its holster. So when you draw it, you take your safety off, squeeze trigger, it goes boom.
Okay. So
Many
it's basically like if you rack the slide and then put on safety and holster.
Right, and you run in the chamber. They always say you're cocked, locked, and ready to rock. Is like you'll see shirts that say it.
All right, that makes
But
sense. I just
it,
didn't know the terminology.
it's considered an unsafe way, and it isn't a safe way to carry. Hold on. If you're a beginner, there's too many problems.
Fair enough.
And what we were discussing is a former colleague of mine, her son shot himself in the foot, literally, and posted pictures on Facebook. And his argument, his wife was like, he never had his finger on the trigger. Ma'am, guns don't fire themselves. No, it was still in the holster. He didn't have his finger on the trigger, and there's 2 safeties. But what she wasn't understanding is the particular one she had, like he had, has those plastic buckles and like a nylon strap for retention.
Oh, jeez.
He had it buckled and tightened, and you can see the buckles sitting right on top of the grip safety, and has the grip safety completely depressed, like if you're holding it. And that was what was defeating the grip safety. And it's a generic holster that your finger will easily slide in next to the trigger. Well, he's fishing around under the seat forward of the driver's side of his car, went to pick it up to put it either in the center console or over there. And when he did this, he shot himself literally in the foot.
And that
I
actually
made fun of him.
That reminds me. That is a hilarious story, but it reminds me, not hilarious, but
No, it's hilarious.
morbid.
It was
humor.
like on the outside of his foot, like this
No,
far in, and he didn't get hurt.
It reminds me, and I have it somewhere, but in my boxes of papers. But during law school, I did a criminal drafting course, And one of our cases was to rewrite the indictment for Plaxico Burress, if you remember that one. He was the
Yeah, and
football player that,
I know Plexiglass. He's from Pittsburgh.
yeah.
He was a
So he,
Steeler.
it was so fun to try and rewrite the indictment because we got all of the police reports and all of the information, and it was, can you do better than the prosecutors? And yes, I could.
Here's my question. Did they include the police report about him and adult fun time in the park?
Yes, they did. And the prosecutor decided to leave that out of the original indictment.
I know.
I included it.
I almost died of laughter when it happened. I know the medics and police that were on the call, and like I can tell you, we were dying, absolutely dying of laughter when that call was dispatched.
It was
There's a gentleman.
that was a
There's
fun
a gentleman in the park doing what?
That was a fun
Sir.
exercise in law school.
Sir, no. Go home. Yes, plexiglass.
Yeah, that was a fun, genuine. Like that was probably one of the courses I enjoyed the most.
Yeah.
Probably for the wrong reasons, and I'm probably a sociopath for it, but I was able to rewrite that indictment significantly better than they actually did.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I was dying of laughter personally. Like I was on the floor looking at the dispatch.
I could only imagine what was going on. They didn't give us transcripts of the CAD, but
Good night, Div.
that would have been fun. But yeah, that's what you do in law school, folks. Sometimes it's actually kind of entertaining.
I would have slept. Hold on.
You have to have a certain mindset to go into law anyway. At least that's my impression.
Yeah, if you don't have it already, then you're probably in the wrong industry.
But yeah, like that was like one of the best things ever to me. I was like, he got busted doing what? Where?
I mean, the dude basically almost shot his own dick off.
We had a discussion about a police officer that eliminated one of his berries carrying appendix and then wasn't real happy when I was the only paramedic on duty and he had to tell me, like they called me to go respond to it. He wasn't real happy.
No, I imagine he probably would.
Yeah, he avoided every single call with me for the next like 2 years.
I wonder why.
Couldn't look. Like he would literally remove himself from calls.
I don't have anything to add. The innuendo is the best.
Hold on. Gremlin King, what's my preferred trigger pull? Is it different between pistol and rifle? It's very different between pistol and rifle. It is a matter of, and you can't say my preferred weight because again, and I tried to explain this to John the other night, and if you go onto my channel, I have an entire video about triggers. An entire video about triggers, and at a later date, I will pop. Croco, can you put a link to it in the description box for me?
In fairness, I think I understood what you were saying. It took a little bit.
I'm talking.
I think I got there.
Chat. There's questions in chat. So is it a double? SA, DA, DA, SA. What kind of trigger are we talking? And then the other thing, Gremlin, is I prefer a slightly heavier trigger for concealed carry. You have less negligent discharge. or as people in the line for the desk pop. But again, this liability
Great.
thing,
Real quick,
I have
Rocco, you got some people that need to be kicked.
Yeah, I'll get there in a second.
All right. Yeah, no, I know you were busy with something else. I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
All right, Patty got that one.
got it.
Okay, Patty got him.
Okay.
Yeah, I blocked
Sorry
him.
about that. I didn't mean
Patty.
to.
I had another assignment to deal with.
You know, remember, guys, I have always said everybody knows the rules with my chat. You can disagree, you can argue, but what we're not going to do is hate speech. And if you would like to leave your mother's basement and come say it to my face, we can talk and you can say these things to me. Freedom of speech is not freedom of consequence. So I don't like it, but if you want to go by Hitler, enjoy. But until you're ready to leave your mother's basement and say what you're saying to my face. May the odds be ever in your favor.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't like his odds against you anyway. He certainly wouldn't get far.
I don't
he can't run away.
like
he can't
it.
run far away from me.
I don't like it, but if you weren't using the slurs, if it was just your name and picture, I wouldn't care. I don't have to like what you say, but I'm not going to tolerate the slurs on my channel.
There you go. And I agree with you entirely.
Like,
yeah, he's been needed.
I removed him. Thank you, Patty. But what I'm saying is, like, I have no issue with free speech. I might not like what you're saying, but my channel, and until you can leave mommy's basement and put your big boy pants on and say it's my face, you might want to rethink that.
Yeah, it's Voltaire. I might not like what you say, but I'll die to have you have the right to say it. But at the same time, like I don't actually believe in the concept of hate speech, and we could talk about that maybe at a later time at some point. But
yeah, no, I want to be there for that one because I can actually completely agree with you. You can't if you can't define it, it will never work.
But back
thank
to
you,
some
squirrel.
but back to some of the legitimate questions from people. Where'd I go? Hold on.
We were talking about
so preferred trigger pull. So
yeah.
You also have to look at the difference between a race gun and a CCW gun. You right tool for the right job is what I advocate. Do I have firearms that have 2-pound trigger pulls? Yes. Do I want to sneeze in their direction if I'm not at a competition? No. But they're race weapons. They're not everyday concealed carry. I generally don't go much below 4 for everyday concealed carry. I prefer a slightly heavier 8 or 9 pound usually. But again, I have a small person, I have other things, and I have been shooting so much and have so much experience with it. The difference in trigger pull weight means very little to me unless I'm competing. It means more to somebody that's not well practiced. And yes, rifle, if you look at the distance and trigger pull weight of like the Barrett versus a Winchester 300 Blackout, they're very different and they serve different purposes. And where's your reset? Where's your trigger? Yeah, Charles, they do. And they might be wickedly awesome, But if you end up in court, I hope you have a lot of money.
And a really good attorney.
You might not be criminally liable, but they're going to make one hell of a civil case. And race gun triggers, what you're talking about, the Huber concept, they were originally for race guns.
Yeah, but there is protection for manufacturers. Still, they've been trying to take that away for a long time, but
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Not the guy that made the gun; it's the guy that used it.
That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, he's saying that there's a trigger that's a 1.5 pound pull that meets the FBI standard. So if you drop it, it won't just go off for super lightweight pull. But you're not going to walk into a criminal issue. You will walk right into a civil issue because any civil attorney is going to say, if you sneezed hard enough while holding it or drawing it, it went off. And that was your decision. And that adds to it. Guns complicate
you're
everything.
Talking about to the owner, not to the manufacturer.
Right, but I'm talking about the owner, not it's an aftermarket.
This is the defense attorney in me. The civil defense attorney would be, this was legitimately manufactured by a company that was FFL certified. The ATF obviously approved it. So unless you're arguing, and this goes back to products liability, unless you're arguing that the 1.5 pound was a design defect, which I don't think I've ever seen in my life, then then the fact that he purchased that firearm is not imposing liability, and I would have that case thrown out in a heartbeat.
They don't sell the triggers as an aftermarket modification.
That's not what I saw the question to say.
The trigger is made by a company that doesn't make handguns.
I don't care. My point is, if the ultimate purchaser received it from an FFL certified dealer, then my argument is very simple. As if I'm doing the civil defense, my argument is very simple. It is, this person purchased a firearm from a licensed dealer. There's nothing that necessarily indicates, and that's not part of the fact pattern, that it was misused, but it went off. That is not my client's fault. Go sue the person that sold the weapon. Or honestly, nobody's getting sued.
I'll send you some of the case law on it, and that's very interesting to it. But no, Andrew doesn't need to be here for this.
But I just genuinely don't know. I just genuinely don't know what the theory of liability would be.
Your own negligence.
For what? Buying something that's not good?
Nobody sells. No FFL would sell a handgun with that trigger without a specific request for it.
That's not negligence then.
Right. He is asking what my thought on that trigger is when you swap it out aftermarket.
I'm not trying to like trip you up. Like, there's no trick here. I'm just saying that purchasing a weapon does not, if the trigger is legal to sell, right?
It depends on the state.
Okay, so let's presume that it's legal to sell. Do you then import additional liability? And my answer would be no, because you made a legal purchase of a tool. Period. And that's the end of the legal analysis as it relates to your personal liability beyond whatever occurs otherwise. Does that make sense? Are you following?
It does make sense, but you are also making an unsafe firearm.
I'm not making an unsafe firearm. I didn't replace the trigger.
You, as the person in possession and walking around carrying a gun with a 1.5-pound pull, made your firearm unsafe.
No, you didn't. If it was legally able to be smithed,
If the FBI approved it, it would have to be.
right? So that's the end of my liability analysis, even on the civil side. Squirrel, back me up on this. You understand what I'm saying?
No, I get you. I do get you. You would be looking at whoever it was to put the add-on in, or you'd be talking to the FBI because they approved something as dangerous as that, so on and so forth. The chances of the user getting sued just for having it is pretty much zero.
Right. I don't think that the user has liability on that.
Unless, of course, he's actually shot somebody dead with it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's civil liability depending upon the circumstances of the firing, but for having that weapon and that weapon going off in a way that might not necessarily have been expected, I think that the owner of the weapon is protected from some degree of liability based upon, or certainly they don't have additional liability based upon the trigger weight of the firearm.
Many states, a negligent discharge actually is a chargeable criminal offense.
It is.
Sure.
But whatever. Michael, I don't think you were a member yet, but everybody that is one of my regular beasties has seen me in yoga pants and a very fitted shirt concealing my deagle. Not that hard to do.
Yeah, you can suggest that it's big useless junk, and the cartridge I was talking about wouldn't be fired by a deagle anyway.
But hey.
You're right back to the argument about 10 millimeter.
You leave my deagle alone. Michael, I love my deagle. I have 2. Be nice to the deagle. Leave my deagle alone. Would I rather fight 20 duck-sized gingers or 1 ginger-sized duck?
The ginger-sized duck.
Ginger-sized duck, because it's smaller than a regular duck.
Yep.
Can I real quick with Michael? He said, no, the owner is never protected from negligent discharge. Correct. That is true, but it also presumes a conclusion. It is a charge. It is not a proof of fact. So, no, if it is actual negligent discharge, then yes, you are liable for that. However, you have to actually prove that, either in criminal cases, beyond a reasonable doubt, or civil, more likely than not. So you're presuming the answer. We don't do that in law.
12 and a half bottleneck is much better than any 10. I will stand on that till my dying day.
Danny,
especially at long ranges.
Danny, I know he's on with Farron, but after this week, my brain needs to rest, and the constant drama that the two of them have going lately, I can't even.
Let's see. Where was the other one?
Guns don't go off by themselves. It was negligent or intentional.
Hold on.
Yeah.
And I'll hold on. And I'll be back on tomorrow night. Sorry, to want to say goodbye to Anne. She was leaving.
No,
Continue.
it's your stream. You can cut me off whenever you like.
Oh no, you're good. I just wanted to say bye to Anne. So continue.
Guns don't go off by themselves. It was negligent or intentional. Yeah, that's a question for law, not fact. So the idea that because you purchased a modified firearm that was under the FBI guidelines and acceptable to purchase does not by itself, or honestly, even I would have that excluded as a matter of evidence, what the draw weight of the weapon was.
All right, that's enough of that.
So the idea that the draw weight is different, but if it's within federal guidelines, I wouldn't even let that into evidence. And you're right, guns don't go off by themselves. So maybe it excludes a potential defense of a defective firing. So it's negligent or intentional, fine, but the draw weight of the weapon is utterly irrelevant as a matter of law and would not be entered into evidence in my personal, if I were on the defense.
Yeah, Charles, I knew they settled their drama, but I had to hear enough about it. And I just can't. I just cannot anymore with the stupid.
Oh, that's been a nightmare. But it's modified. You would not get that.
Did someone get rid of the porn? Did somebody get rid of the porn, please?
Yeah, I already did that. I got there right just as he got started.
Michael, for precisely the argument that I made, that would be excluded.
I didn't even wait for it to come up in the room.
That's fine.
Went to the chat, killed it.
This is not one that I'm maybe on. That would be the pull weight of the trigger would be excluded because it would not be relevant to any sort of an actual firearm incident.
This is a question for John.
No. As a general matter, any sort of insurance that you may have is not allowed to be entered as evidence.
Unless of course you're Amber Heard and the whole court case is about insurance.
Well, yeah, but as a general matter, if you're insured, your insurance information is not allowed to be entered in. And the issue with Amber Heard was she made an issue. She opened the door. But as a general matter, things like settlement discussions, whatever insurance you may have, those are off limits unless you make it an issue yourself. Because the whole idea is we want to encourage people to have settlements. Or another example would be remedial measures. So let's say somebody slips on a cracky sidewalk in front of your business. If you go back and fix it, we don't let that in either because we want to encourage people to have insurance, to engage in settlement negotiations, to fix the stuff that may be wrong, and we're not going to hold that against them.
Chosen one. I will give you a caveat. I understand you said the word insurance, but you also have to look at, you said CCW safe being the insurer, but in general, how your weapon is stored will be brought up. So I hope you either had a safe or a place for it to be secured, especially if there's minors in the house or it's out. If you leave it unsecured, you won't get in trouble.
Yeah. Again, I can give from the legal perspective generally. This is not particularly my area of expertise.
Yeah, but I don't know if it can be brought up in, that.
How you stored it, again, we're presuming facts, not in evidence. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, if it's not stored properly, that's a problem. That's negligent ownership.
Right.
Negligent.
And like with the Ethan Crumley case, his parents said he took it without their knowledge, but it was just sitting in a drawer. Or, you leave it on a table, a child shoots himself, you're going to get a negligent, like they're coming after you as the parent.
Well, but that's the issue. So if we're talking about the insurance aspect, that would probably void the insurance policy anyway.
Yeah, I said, not the insurance. John already answered this. I just said in general, how you keep it stored will be relevant.
Okay, Patty has to wander off.
Bye,
which means I have to-
Patty.
I have to
I'll
do
talk
more
to
on
you
my
tomorrow.
phone now. Thank you for the kind words.
We'll talk to you tomorrow,
right.
Patty. But yeah.
Back to the original question here. Sorry about that.
Yeah, it's all good. Michael, you can defeat pretty much anything with that. But if someone really wants to get into a safe, you're going to get into the safe. Well, depending on the safe and how much time you have. But you don't want to make it easy. Guns complicate everything.
I saw exactly what you did.
This?
Yeah.
I saw what he did there. That's okay. Somebody else asked earlier if we were Danny. I think it was asking if the three of us were a throuple. It's like no.
This isn't law talk. This isn't gun talk with Stephanie, Mike, and John. Hey. Yeah, Charles Hedrick, Lockpick Lawyer has. I can pick a lot of them. I can crack certain safes. But I'm a nerd.
But so from a legal perspective, it's kind of interesting.
What, the part where locks are only there to keep the honest man honest?
Oh, pretty much. But it also, at the very least, you could, in your defense, argue you at least took reasonable precautions. And that's enough to avoid liability in most circumstances. You did something that a reasonable person would think would make the weapon safe.
Yeah, like I said, Charles, lockpicking lawyer does deal with little safes and, little gun safes and all of that stuff. I can tell you for a fact, you're not getting into my safe that I own because I have it's not antique. I have a very old safe from the Mosler Safe Company, and I have a 5-foot tall Mosler safe that weighs thousands of pounds. And if you drill it, it permanently drops rods. And the only way to get it open is to cut it. You drill it, it permanently will drop the rods.
You got one of those where it has like the glass back and it just drops into place?
Mine isn't glass. The safe, my Mosler safe, is from the late 50s, early 60s. But, so it doesn't have glass.
Yeah.
But,
there we go. That's what happened.
You can't.
No, I have a friend who has a gun safe, and it literally has a glass back panel on the front. So if you drill anywhere, it is immediately going to drop the security pins, and you're done.
Right, and the glass thing is a newer way of doing it. There's like the old school mechanisms, and mine has the old school mechanism to drop the thing, is what I'm saying. I'm just saying the glass ones that you're referring to are, newer.
Okay.
But yeah, I have, it's thousands and thousands of pounds. And when my grandparents owned my grandparents and later my dad owned a chain of stores, and it was the safe from one of the stores. And when they built the store, they had to put the safe in before the building was done because of it, like because of size and weight and where it was going. And they took out a wall to get it out when they got rid of it. And it takes a small horde to move. But yeah, it's like a five and a
Or
half
one
foot
grunk.
tall, 55. It's a 55 or 60 capacity, 5.5 foot tall original Mosler safe.
So one grunk or two.
Like 5.
5. Ooh.
My dad actually, hold on, let me see what this is. I don't know who this person is.
Syndicate, I want to answer your question real quick. You said reasonable. That's the issue at the end of the day, is when you're talking about civil liability for...
Pull it up.
Huh?
Croco, can you pull it up for me?
No, it's literally just reasonable.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the issue at the end of the day is, did you take reasonable precautions to make sure that it was stored in a safe manner? And obviously, it's going to depend a little bit on your jurisdiction, what reasonable is based upon the case law. But if you locked it up, even in something that, I don't know, Lockpicking Lawyer, who I love, by the way, I watch his stuff all the time. The question at the end of the day of what is a reasonable way to store a weapon safely is, what would the average person know? And so if a company is producing a product that says that it's going to make your weapon safe, and you take them up on their word, then it's not your fault anymore. That's basically the argument. And that would be your defense argument. That's what I meant by reasonable.
I like my Mosler safe. Again, it's hell to move. And you're not easily getting it open. It's going to take you a real long time.
If you ever have to move out of that house, you're gonna have a fun time.
I moved it in about 10 years ago when I bought this house. But
Did you have to build an enclosure for it too?
Excuse me, this is like the funniest thing. I love my chat. My chat are my people.
By the way, on Michael's one, no, that's not true at all. I mean, almost always is a really strong statement. I think there were, what was it, like 16 or 17,000 defensive uses of firearms recorded last year. It's somewhere in that ballpark. There are plenty of defensive uses of firearms. You don't hear about them because they're not charged.
Okay. So, Michael, I think you're relatively new to my channel. I think you found me through John, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. But we'll ask Croco. Croco's been there from the beginning. Croco, how do I start every single one of my field stripping and cleaning videos?
Unload the damn thing first.
Safety is paramount.
Safety is
everything. Do not point it at anything you don't want dead. Make sure the magazine is not in the weapon. Take the slide, lock the slide back. We are then going to visually clear the barrel. Every single video, I cover firearm safety anytime I handle a weapon in a video. I cover making it safe. I cover your clear indicators and how you know in every video. for that reason.
Actually, this might segue kind of nicely to something I've always wanted to see, and that's basic firearms training at the high school level.
No.
No.
No. No. No, 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 no.
Okay, how about an argument? I like that argument.
Now, it could get her in trouble.
People have room temperature IQs.
Okay, I'll give you that.
If you can't pass freshman English, I'm not teaching you to safely use a firearm.
And that is the kind of thing that can get her in trouble if she were to do that.
I'm just saying in general, like, not my circus, not my monkeys. Syndicate, it depends on the state in, hold on. It depends on the state. Pennsylvania does not, unless you're an underage hunter.
Florida's about to be a constitutional carry state.
That'd be fun.
I mean, at least it's working its way through the legislature.
I guarantee you DeSantis will sign that if it shows up.
I don't think he would oppose it.
Like I said, he'll sign it if it shows up on his desk.
Well, so what's interesting with Florida, and it all goes back to when the state joined the union. And we talked about this before, Loki, that open carry is illegal. Concealed carry is pretty easily available.
In some places. If you're in New York or Washington.
No, I'm saying state of Florida.
No. My over the state of Florida thing is right because Florida man needs more. The number of Florida man things are going to skyrocket.
I said, I never got around to it because I don't want to pay the $350 fee. But I could get a license tomorrow because I'm a licensed attorney in the state, so the background check goes through like that.
State of Pennsylvania, you go to the sheriff's office. They put your name through the instant check. If you pass the instant check, they literally on the spot hand it to you. Yep. You walk back out.
Oh, I mean,
that's it. $25.
There's a gun store 4 minutes to my northwest. I haven't never gotten around to it. I haven't particularly wanted to necessarily, but
Michael, no, mine is not in Kydex. My Deagle is not in a Kydex holster.
Again, my fingerprints are already in the database, so it's not even like I have to do any of that.
I have an ATF, class 3 stamp. Fingerprinted so many times between my FFL and my ATA, my class.
Right. You got to do a 4-hour class. All right, cool.
But I'm saying for my tax stamp and everything.
That's still a case of you could do 4 hours standing on your head, room temperature or not.
I can do them online.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, COVID.
Yeah, Michael, I'm not a big Kydex person. Continue.
I don't know anything about Kydex.
I'm sorry, John. Continue.
No, I'm saying he's Squirrel and Syndicate are not wrong. I think in Florida, what are the requirements? I think it is a 4 or 6 hour class, and you could do it online. But they're going to constitutional carry, which means there are no requirements whatsoever.
Yeah, PA doesn't carry at all. Doesn't care about a class at all.
And by the way, not for nothing, New York just got shot down on their stupid new. I
Oh
don't know.
yeah,
If
the
you've gone
shiny new law
first.
to replace the old law that the Supreme Court struck down, the Bruin
Yes,
decision.
I got emailed 843 times
I'm
about it
sure.
with links
Yikes!
to like 57 videos about it. And everybody was like, "Oh my God, are you covering this week?"
No.
All right. So do you want to give the 30,000 foot overview? Because I can if you don't want to. I can
Yep.
understand either way.
I'm going to save it for a video. Well, my overview. If you'd like to give your, you can, but
All right. My basic what I basically took from it is suddenly the Constitution actually applies in the state
That
of
was
New
Bruin.
York. Not just the second, but also the first. Because this was the Northern District of New York, which, by the way, is absolutely the middle of nowhere. So in New York, you have, well, I'll leave
It's
it.
SDNY is everywhere. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're on this side, on my side of the continent, or yours. SDNY just likes to steal cases.
Yeah, fair enough. That's pretty much true. Just like the first department likes to steal cases from the second, which I am licensed by the second department in New York, which is whatever. But yeah, so apparently your religious freedom allows you to bring a weapon into a church if you're allowed, which invalidates a portion of the New York state law that tells you can't basically carry a weapon anywhere.
Yep. If you were in public, you were
Well,
screwed.
did I get that wrong at all?
Nope.
oh
That's the
no,
way I understood it.
so Cookie Mon Steve, I'm sure you already know. If you're like Canadian specific stuff, Runkle's great. Go watch Runkle for Canada specific firearms stuff because that is Runkle's domain.
But yeah, I was absolutely thrilled to see that New York courts, or I guess New York federal courts, because the state courts have not been awesome on this, have finally started to realize that the Supreme Court wasn't effing around when they finally decided to take a Second Amendment case and told everyone, yeah, screw you. Like, the Second Amendment actually is a thing.
Yeah, you could. If you offer concealed carry, you don't have to offer open carry. If you're offering open carry, you don't have to offer concealed carry, but you have to pick one, at
If
least one.
If you're open carrying, you're my first target as a concealed carry.
I know, like, we talked about this, but
Oh, I know, but everybody knows my thoughts on it, so I just.
my thoughts on this is let either. Who cares? Let that make that be your choice. You are a citizen of the United States and a citizen of whatever state you happen to reside in. The Second Amendment is clear. That's my opinion. So you have every right in the world to open carry, concealed carry, whatever, because you have a right to own that firearm and you have a right to have
Shall
it.
not be infringed.
Exactly.
Shall not be infringed. That's where I stand on it. But I just
Actually, what didn't we actually have laws early on that you had to have one?
yes.
So that was one of the things that was in that case, and I don't want to give spoilers if you're going to carry it, tomorrow or Monday or whatever. But yeah, that was one of the things they pointed out. Is I think it was New Hampshire where you had to carry a weapon in church.
Yeah.
I
So
just
if you
like
want to talk about
I
history and tradition,
oh yeah, I just forever am like sitting there like what?
well, but that's the whole thing, and that's why that decision was so powerful. Is it reinforced the history and tradition concept, which doesn't necessarily only apply to the Second Amendment. It applies to many others and is
Including the
being
first.
used on cases going up the chain that people don't know about necessarily because they're not super high profile. But it is a huge concept
You
to
mean
reintroduce.
like Laura Nepley Miller, FPC and SAF versus Robert Evenchik?
I'm not familiar with that one. Send it
You
to
know
me.
what?
I'll take a look at it. I'll take a look at
I,
it.
we are going to, you know what? I'm going to have you back on. We're going to do that as a first read, and you and I are going to do that one together. And you can't cheat and look at it, and your head
Look it
will
up in
explode.
advance.
Deal.
Your
But
head
no,
will
seriously,
explode.
this is what I think scared the ever living shit out of people when it came to the Dobbs decision. Is they finally decided to re-implement, as opposed to the living Constitution, the history and tradition idea of the Constitution. And that scares the hell out of the left because you don't have anywhere to run anymore. And that started with Dobbs. It came back when it came to the 2A case, and they are terrified of where else that's going to come in.
Syndicate, you may.
Let me grab that here real quick.
You agree, Squirrel?
Yeah, actually, that seems to be where the current court is going. Although I don't know that Roberts is going to be a lot of help.
Yeah, but who cares? We don't need
Roberts
him.
actually agreed in Dobbs, and he wanted to not go quite as far as overturning Roe. What I thought hilarious was all of the screaming for about a bunch of men deciding in Dobbs, deciding Dobbs, when in fact Roe v. Wade was decided by a panel of 9 men as opposed to like 5.
All right. I agree with you entirely, but this needs to be answered. Loki, would you like to take this or shall I?
You may. Because I can tell that even if I say yes, your head's exploding already over there. So I'm going to leave this since you like constitutional stuff.
All right. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. I think I did that from memory.
That would be correct. This is we've actually had this. We've all had this conversation just recently.
I know. So the reason for the Second Amendment is not relevant at all in terms of what the actual right is. The right to keep and bear arms. What are you talking about? That's not it. I literally just quoted it from memory. Okay. As a matter of law, the reason for the Second Amendment was because the colonies were suffering under a tyrannical government, and they realized that the only way to keep the government at bay was that the people had the ability to retain weapons and fight for themselves. You can go back to Lexington and Concord. Why did this all stop? Why did the invasion of Boston occur? It occurred precisely because there were weapons, munitions, and armaments stored in Concord. And so that's why the British government and their military decided to march through our colonial lands and try and secure the stores of armaments. That is literally what started the damn revolution. So, when they wrote a well-regulated militia being necessary for the security of a free state, militia is not the National Guard. Militia literally refers to the people who can take up arms to respond to a circumstance. That has been true since the 1200s. Militia has always referred to the common folks bringing up arms in order to defend themselves. So I don't know what the hell you're talking about suggesting that. Okay. All right. Let me take a pause. 2A is the only amendment that says why is this. No, it's not. It literally is not. It is a prefatory clause. It literally is a prefatory clause.
Okay,
Give me a second. But my God, that
we're going to table this, and I will have Michael on, and it can be debated.
No, let me go. Let me go.
Okay.
It is not the only amendment in the Constitution that has a prefatory.
John, look down.
What?
Look down at the thing on the screen there.
2A is the only. It's not. What else am I supposed to be looking down at?
That was the thing I was referring to.
Okay.
I know, but for the love of God, even if you take it as the prefatory clause, right? Militia meant people.
And Michael now says it's a misplaced comma. I'm not inclined to think that. That would have been debated at great length.
I imagine hypothetically, if it were a misplaced comma, that this would have come up before.
This other John here, John Trash, is on a rant too.
We have no British government against us. We have criminal with gun shooting, whatever. All right. That's not the goddamn point.
But if you outlaw the guns, only the criminals will have them. Because they don't give a shit. They're already breaking the law and shooting people. Why not just step on?
Well, and Squirrel, that's a perfectly good practical argument. It's not the legal argument here, and it's not the constitutional argument here. The issue is you have a prefatory clause that this is a purpose. And by the way, this is why I was going to the definition of militia. Because the militia is you and me. It is Loki. It is Squirrel. It is every one of you in the chat. You are the militia. You are the people that need to be ready to stand by and protect yourself and your people, your family, your friends, your community. You are the militia. And that has been how it's been understood for almost 850 years. So who cares what the prefatory clause says? What the operative clause says is the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Period.
Okay. Can I interject here? Something Michael said something here. Let's see. Let me see if I got it. Okay. The militia is regulated by Congress. No. Congress represents a government that could be turned to tyranny very quickly, and in fact, at this point, it is arguably well on its way to doing exactly that. The idea of a militia has nothing to do with the government so much as it is the ability to make the government go bye-bye if it gets out of hand, which is exactly what happened in the revolution. You had a government, it went rogue, then it went bye-bye. And it caused a lot of deaths. But it went bye-bye.
So here's the thing, and Michael made another point. Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution. All right, fair point. So Article 1, Section 8, one of the provisions is that Congress has the ability to make all laws which are necessary and proper for carrying into execution foregoing powers. One of those powers is for calling forth the militia to execute the laws of the Union, suppress insurrections, and repel invasions. Now, Michael, I want to explain to you that provision actually argues for me, because the Constitution in that section, Article 1, Section 8, presumes a militia exists. That's why I'm saying that you and I, every one of us, are the militia. What the Constitution in Article 1, Section 8 said is that the Congress could obtain revenues so that it can call forth you and I, the militia, to put down insurrections and fight against invasions. That is exactly my argument. What are you talking? What are you? I don't understand that statement. I genuinely do not. You're right. Calling every one of us is a draft. And that had to be passed by statute. And what does the draft have anything to do with the concept of a militia back in the 1700s? This is the idea of history and tradition and how we actually interpret the Constitution. There was no draft then. At all. There was no selective service. No, Michael, you're wrong. When you say only Congress can call the draft, you're absolutely wrong about that. It's part of the Selective Service Administration, and it was passed by Congress decades ago. Wrong again. I don't know. I don't know what point you're trying to make. I genuinely do not. I think that there's a fundamental misunderstanding between the federalist system of federal powers, state powers, and local powers. So yes, Congress can implement the draft. Fine, that's legal. All right? But it's not Congress that calls you in. Russell, I don't know what point you're trying to make. A well-regulated militia, literally, if we go with the definitions from the time, militia is the people, you and me. Well-regulated means armed. Being regulated at that time and how they wrote it means you had a weapon. I'm saying the National Guard of each state cannot call the National Guard. The governor of each state cannot call. Yes, of course I'm saying that they can. I don't. Am I misexplaining this? Can somebody please? If I'm not, I feel like I'm doing a poor job of this. Or people are just dense. I don't know which. Can somebody do a better job of explaining this? Because I've done the best that I can.
You've got a definitional problem with this guy here, Russell Wallace Warren. It doesn't say guns. It says arms, and arms with in his theory would include knives or some other such thing as what I'm getting out of this. Arms at that point was specifically referred to guns because knives, as an example, were considered tools. A sword is not much use against somebody with a knife unless you're right on top of their ass.
Well, isn't that exactly the what was it? Who was it? It was Jefferson that wrote the letter of marque and reprise, where a merchant vessel asked if can we arm ourselves with cannons, and Jefferson basically responded, "Yeah, of course you can. What are you talking about?" Like it's not complicated. Sure, there were. That's fine. There were no state militias during the Revolution.
Because there weren't actually states, just individual colonies.
Precisely. The militia meant us, the people. It's not hard to contemplate. And like I said, the letter of marque and reprise, where I think it was Jefferson, it might have been Adams, was like, yeah, of course, you're a merchant vessel. You can carry cannons. Why not?
In fact, you probably should, because it costs less. It costs less for you to have cannons than it does for us to escort you.
Exactly. Like these are the kind of these are these two-way arguments that just don't make sense to me because it's not consistent with history and tradition.
Okay, that's okay. Now we're getting into flat out silly. And John goes to the cigarette.
I would say yes. But no, that's not the point of the amendment. And this is why I separated the prefatory clause and explained it, I think, in excruciating detail. Squirrel or Loki, tell me if I'm wrong. I think I explained the prefatory clause very clearly. No fucking shit. Do you think you're teaching me something about that? All right.
Okay.
In any
we're going to table this for right now. I have a question to answer. We can continue this argument after.
Okay.
Now I got to find it again. Hold on.
Looks like Joshua's considerably calmer than he was. That's good.
I look a bit less ginger now that the sun's gone down.
Don't worry, John. 20 years from now, nobody will ever accuse you of that.
You think I'm getting gray at 50?
Huh? I'm 50 and completely gray. Have been for a couple of years now.
Okay, Syndicate. This gets into the definition of an assault weapon.
Oh God, don't get me started on that.
God, no. It's all you this time, Loki.
Tech Squirrel, I need to apologize to you now for what I'm about to say.
Go for it.
I shot a squirrel with a 50 caliber Barrett. I mean, I technically hunted one with my Barrett. Um, it's
Find
not
take miss.
not particularly useful for hunting. The upside is if I take a deer with it, it's already cut in half for me, and the majority of the innards are already gone. So you have to look at definitions of assault weapons versus hunting rifles. In Pennsylvania, several years ago, it used to be you could not hunt with any rifle that wasn't a very specific caliber that was not bolt action. You could not have multi-round magazines during certain hunting seasons and for certain things. Several years ago, Pennsylvania changed their hunting laws that it has to be a 5 round or less magazine, and you don't need to. It doesn't have to be bolt action. You can hunt with it. So you have to look at like the definition between assault weapon and hunting rifle. There, it has to do with battle rattle and bells and whistles and all of that, but the underlying firearm is the same. So you saying what's the difference of having an assault weapon when a hunting rifle is just as good? My Barrett with the bore, and that the bore is BORS. It stands for the Barrett Optics Ranging System. I have a bore computer. I have a Barrett scope, Loophole optics, the bore computer. I have stuff on my Barrett that would make it assault. But even if I strip all of that off and say I'm just using it as a hunting rifle, it's still the same underlying platform. So you can't say hunting versus assault rifle. The gun is the same. It's how you've dressed it up for your date.
I take it that was the one you were talking about there?
Yeah, that's the one I was talking about.
Cool.
Because, sorry, and I know we wanted to table the conversation for a minute. You're absolutely right. Part of the issue, and I'll talk about the assault weapon thing. Assault weapon doesn't mean anything outside of the stupid law that we created. There is no such
And I don't
thing.
think it wasn't even defined in those laws, were they? Just
I don't
the
think
word.
they actually. I don't think no. So they call it the assault weapons ban, and they defined assault weapon, but it has nothing to do with its actual capabilities at all of the actual weapon. Period. So it was dumb from the outset. And Loki, if you disagree, let me know. No?
Yeah, I was scribbling here.
I'm letting you go.
All right. So, Texas piece, you are absolutely 110% right. Anything not delegated to the government was reserved to the people by default. This is the Ninth Amendment to the Constitution, and the power of gun control. So the whole point of the Constitution is to say what the government can do. Period. And so anything that you don't find there, they cannot. The Bill of Rights went out of its way to say, these are some things that we find really, really important that even if we didn't say that you could do it in the actual Constitution, you really shouldn't do these things. Second Amendment's one of them. Period. Bar none. And I also hate the argument that I hear from people about, oh, they didn't think about, these high capacity magazines or machine guns or anything like that. At the time of the founding and at the time of the passage of the Bill of Rights, we had the pepper box revolver, we had the Giordoni air rifle, we had multiple shot firearms, bar none. And by the way, the Giordoni air rifle, I think, was the one that they decided to arm Lewis and Clark with when they did their expedition.
I seem to, that would follow from what I remember from history class.
So the idea of high capacity weapons was not uncommon to the individuals that passed the Second Amendment. So I'm tired of all of the arguments that are used against the Second Amendment's operative effect. It just frustrates the hell out of me. And I would love to hear your guys' commentary because I'm just losing my mind a little bit. No?
You want to go next, Loki?
Hold on. I'm in the middle of something.
I mean, I think that they had pepper box revolvers that had like 30 rounds in them.
Yes, they also had an early version of Gatling's gun.
Yeah,
the big ass box with you could just feed ammunition into a hopper, and as long as you turned the crank, it kept firing.
Well, and that's what drives me nuts. It's like, oh, when they passed the Second Amendment, they just had muskets, and it's like, no, that's not true at all. That argument annoys me too.
See, I think you might be wasting your time in civil law, John. We should get you into constitutional law. Get you hang out with Barnes.
No, it's just frustrating because I like the research, I like the history, and it just is a totally warped interpretation of history and the Constitution. That's my opinion.
What is USV Miller? What is this?
USV Miller? I want to make sure that I know it's the right one. Because I know the answer off the top of my head, but I want to make sure that it's the one I'm thinking about. Okay, this is 1934. Yeah, this is the one I'm thinking about. Give me 1 second.
My favorite guns, huh? Let's see. Let's see. My all-time favorite was the M107. Lovely beast. Stephanie should be familiar with those. She was just talking about something similar. Honestly, past that, the Glock 17. I used to carry one of those.
I'm gonna kick you off my channel, Captain Tupperware.
Well, if it's what you're issued, it's what you're issued, it's what you carry. And if you take care of them, they do okay. The Model 9 as in all-time favorites is sidearms. Let's talk the Model 1911. I would love to get my hands on that.
True 1911, or what most people associate as a 1911.
Oh no, do it right or don't do it.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I have never carried a Mark 19.
No. So a true 1911 does not have a guide rod. Most 1911 style ones do have a guide rod internally.
Yeah, no, I don't recall a guide rod in any of my 1911s.
My Les Bear 1911 is a true 1911, no guide rod. My Para Ordnance is a 1911 style. It has one.
Yeah, the 1911 is actually is a 45, so 11 and a half millimeters or 11 and a quarter millimeters for that round.
I apologize. It's an 83-page decision, and I want to not be wrong when I answer about the Miller case. So I'm going to speed read it. It'll take me maybe 6 minutes.
Okay, 6 minutes for 83 pages. You do good.
I'm a lawyer. This is what I do for a living.
It'd take me at least 10. But yeah, if I had to, all right, in a let's see. So the
okay, right, yeah, okay, I got it.
Michael has left the building.
As he wandered off.
All right, but we can still try to teach people things.
We can.
Okay.
Am I stopping you? Have you heard me say we don't educate?
I was of the opinion that was that was the first thing we try and do.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
That's what I tried to do.
John gets what I'm saying.
I get exactly what you're saying. All right, so to the person that asked about Miller, Miller was overruled. So Miller was the case. It was a sawed-off shotgun that in interstate commerce they said was something that was not necessarily in military use. However, that was absolutely, I think unequivocally, and I haven't looked at the case recently, overruled in DC v. McDonald. And then reaffirmed, or was it DC McDonald? Hang on, give me two. No, it's McDonald v. Chicago. It was who versus DC? It's late, and I've been.
Let's table. We can finish this tomorrow because I'm going to go live earlier.
Yeah, so it was destroyed. So Miller was overruled by Heller. Heller was expanded by McDonald v. Chicago v. McDonald. So none of Miller is particularly relevant. Yeah, it cited it several times. However, it absolutely changed the legal posture of the court. So in a similar way to where technically, for instance, Korematsu has never been overturned, Roberts went out of his way to basically say, hey, we're not doing Korematsu. So in a sort of maybe not a necessarily direct way, and maybe in a little bit of a weaker way, I think that Heller pretty much overruled Miller.
That was the impression I got, and there were a few other lawyers that are comment on YouTube that thought the same thing.
Yeah. So it's like I said, technically Korematsu's never been overturned. But
our current Supreme Court said, hey, no, you know what? This was bad law. We should probably not do that anymore.
And I think part of that is because the Roberts Court is very loath to actually overrule precedent. And that's partly because of him, in my opinion. But that's the reason. Like, it's the reason why he saved Obamacare, for instance. I think that he's a relatively. You know what? Screw it. I'll say it. I think he's a weak Chief Justice, and so he's looking for any escape valve possible to get to the right conclusion.
The same thing he tried to do to Dobbs before somebody pushed before somebody leaked the draft.
Yes.
They couldn't do anything at that point. They couldn't do anything else.
That actually, depending on who leaked it, and we still don't know, which is really frustrating.
Actually, they just last week they do know who leaked it. Last week they announced the investigation has wrapped up. They do know who is responsible.
Yeah, but they're not going to tell us.
They are.
They did. It was one of Sotomayor's clerks.
Yeah, it was the guy that everybody suspected. It was the guy everybody suspected. It was in fact Sotomayor's clerk.
Yeah, but you know what? At that point, like, it doesn't serve a damn purpose. And I'm shocked that I did not see that. That never came across my desk or my feed. Nobody told me about that. That's crazy. So, thank you for letting me know.
I got it from Barnes. He put it in one of his Barnes briefs a few days ago.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised at all, because Sotomayor is one of the dumbest people that probably has ever sat on the Supreme Court. So
what was it?
No shocking.
Where she tried chewing up a lawyer here. What was that case? Kurt was covering it the last couple of days.
Oh, this was no. This was it? Are you talking about the affirmative action case?
That's the one.
Didn't know how to
North Carolina.
Where she didn't know what the difference between de jure and de facto.
Yeah. Yeah, that's about the time I clicked off. Yeah, that logic is completely shot.
We all know Stephanie's
dumbest human being. She's one of the dumbest human beings to be on the Supreme Court.
Are we talking about an IQ of room temperature or less?
I don't know. And she has been an absolute disaster since the beginning. I don't know if everyone knows, but I do listen to all of the Supreme Court oral arguments. So it's not like I'm not familiar. And she drives me up a wall.
There are you stay out of the trees of my minions, sir.
Stay out of my law. Just leave. You're no longer welcome in the pool. Much less being a lifeguard. Oh,
Russell,
my God.
I'm going to need you to define this for me. I'm going to need you to define women think like women.
What is a woman?
Shut up. This is my question. Sit there and shut up for a minute.
Yeah, but we have a Supreme Court justice.
I don't just give me a minute.
It sounds like quotes. Sounds like he's just spitting out quotes.
Okay.
That's what it sounds like. That's what it looks like to me.
Okay,
I don't think this is actually any of this is original thought.
Here's the thing, guys. Regardless of any of this, I have always said with my channel, I am cool with people arguing guns and gun law. Because when you have a channel and a platform and you don't allow it, when you have a channel and you don't allow it, that's not a great place. It's not. And I encourage everybody to have discussions, discourse, and argument. So, no, to the people in chat that are like, are you mad? No, we need to have discussions and discourse about the Second Amendment. I am not going to shy away from it just because there's opposing sides. But don't use the term mansplaining on my channel. I will tell you right now, my balls are bigger than yours. I wear them on my chest. Try me. I will end a fight from another zip code. So take your mansplaining bullshit and make you? I can yeet your ass if I want. There's no point. This is not an airport. You don't need to announce your departure. Make you? Make you what? Not be a chauvinistic asshole? Cool. I'm really not for censoring people, but what we're not going to do is tell Stephanie to make me. I doubt it, lady. I'm not convinced. What about the first? Leave your mother's basement.
There you go.
I will end the fight from another zip code.
I mean,
make you
fire your ass across 4
make
fucking
you
time zones.
Make you.
Well, isn't that the beautiful thing about America is we can bomb you from orbit halfway across the world.
Yeah, not quite from orbit. We don't have the hardware up there for that right now. Chinese are working on it though.
Hey, how sure are you that we don't have Thor project?
I'm not at liberty to discuss.
For those who don't know what I'm talking about, it's the rods from God. It's basically just kinetic weapons that we just drop from space. And
yeah,
what happens.
Mass drivers. Play a Halo game. You'll know what those are.
Here's the thing, TB. I don't care. I'm all for free speech. You can say what you want to say, but what you're not going to do, and you know this, TB, you've been around long enough, what you're not going to do is come onto my channel and disrespect me and tell me to sit there and shut up like a good woman in the corner and let the men talk. That's what you're not going to do. Because I behold the fallow field I grow fucks in.
Loki,
I have been there.
And shut up and let the men talk.
I will drive. I will fly down to Tampa and drown you in front of Plant Hall.
I believe you. That was a joke.
But what you're not going to do is sit here and tell me that you're happy because I'm not trying to speak for the men and go sit in the corner like a happy little lady. Jackass, I don't care. Again, my channel, my house, my rules. And what I will say is I will take you any day of the week. Pick your weapon, pick your time, pick your place. I don't care.
I'll second you.
Get in line, John.
The difference between me and most women is that I will get into a fist fight with a 6'6" dude and win every time. I didn't survive 16 years on a SWAT team because I hid behind, ooh, I'm a girl. Okay, I've been there, I've done that, I've got the t-shirts, I have the rifles, I have the pistols. Any day, any time, any weapon, bring a camera, and I will mansplain to you how my balls are bigger than yours, and I will take yours and put them into a glass jar on my mantle. Try me.
You see, she would have. She just loved my old lieutenant. She would. Ellie was something else.
I don't know how you'd necessarily want somebody's balls in your mantle, but other than that,
The Marine Corps hoodie.
I literally wear a human heart on a chain.
Who's
all right.
thinking? That's the question.
Nobody disputed that you're a badass.
Oh, no, just to the people that are like, I'm going to mansplain.
Oh, no, absolutely.
You know what?
Look, I talk for a living.
Not only do I wear a heart, a literal human heart on my chest, but I have a human heart that looks just like this tattooed on my back.
Ooh.
Because there's proof that I'm not a cold-hearted bitch. It's right there. I don't do disrespect.
I don't know. I'm not sure if I want to know whose heart that is. Hopefully, it's somebody
I really don't.
I don't tolerate disrespect. I don't tolerate it from a 5-year-old. I will not tolerate it from a supposedly grown ass adult. My only rules: we're not going to get nasty with slurs. We're going to have respectful discourse. We're not going to troll people for legitimate questions. That's it.
Oh,
disrespect me.
If you're a sex spamming bot, you're gone.
Well, yeah. Disrespect
I'm
me.
stealing those 3. Say them again, because I want to use them.
You want to try to break them all? Is that what I heard?
No, I want to use them
on his channel.
I support your freedom of speech. You can say what you want, but we don't use slurs. We don't resort to ad hominem attacks. You can disagree, but you can be an adult and respectfully disagree. We don't need ad hominem attacks, because if you resort to that, it shows me you don't have the intellect and you're not worth the time. We don't shame and troll people for legitimate questions. I don't care if you're a firearm newbie or you, like me, you've been shooting since you were 9. Everybody starts somewhere, and I hate the exclusionary gun world and the bro culture of it. And you're not going to disrespect me in my house. Those are my rules. Other than that, have at it, and I will sit back and let y'all argue. But when you bring things like that up and you disrespect me and you pull the man card, I'm going to show you that you turned yours in long ago and you got your ass beat by a girl. TB, correct. TB, you know I don't care.
That's one of the things that it frustrates me, because people don't understand free speech. This is Loki's home. When you're on her channel, she's got control. And you know what? You have no free speech rights. If somebody walked into your home to come have dinner and you insulted the hell out of it, let's put it this way. Yeah, somebody came into your home for dinner, sat it down at the table, and started belittling you or insulting you, all of this, your meal, and they told you to get the fuck out, they have every right in the world to. What do you think?
Hold on one second.
I agree.
Yeah, that's basically, you came to my dinner table and started insulting me. Get out.
Yeah, just fuck all kinds of off. And if you don't want to fuck all kinds of off, we have plenty of ways to make you.
I think that's exactly the reasonable comparison. Free speech only applies to the government. It doesn't apply to private entities.
Tell that to the folks that are currently trying to cancel Twitter.
Yeah, well, there are some complications there, but as a general premise. I am running out of cigarettes. That's going to be a problem.
Well, you could always get a vape mod. So it's cheaper on top of that.
Yeah, but it doesn't work as well, or at least in my experience.
It takes a while to get used to. You get over it. And I finally gave up. I finally used it to give up the cigarettes completely.
Yeah.
Hold on. I would like to, I have something to play for you guys.
Ooh.
That a friend of mine did. Okay? So we're going to play this for a minute.
When you're ready.
I've got it, and you're all going to be highly amused. Are you ready? Everyone ready?
Let's do it.
I'm in.
You're out of service for EMS2 for relief. I'm completely prepared to tell my driver to disembark, and I will drive this thing in the Inner Harbor.
Okay, and well, 24, that was something necessary. We have you out of service.
And refer to EMS2 for the MDO.
Battalion Chief EMS? Yeah. Battalion Chief EMS. One, I'm out of service. Shift Commander's office. The second, who was that last unit? Yes, ma'am. That was Rainbow 2-4. Copy. Thank you, ma'am. 1757.
Yes, one of my friends literally said that over the radio.
Oh.
They're my former paramedic student.
No comment, but that's funny.
I thought it was great over the radio. I'm going to tell them to disembark, and I'm driving this into the Inner Harbor. Because why not? Isn't that what you do when you're fed up? But what I was going to show you. What are you giggling at?
Don't mind me. I'm still going over the video.
And since I can't really show you any other way, Literally.
Wow.
I have a giant human heart tattooed on my back.
That's pretty good.
Well, that'll make you easy to identify.
Oh, Lord. Let's hope that that never has to be the case.
You and me both.
That was a come at me, bro moment. Well done, Loki.
You know what, Gremlin King? Like, I think it's funny that you say, they can't be boss in IT. Like, I've gotten it many, many, many times. I used to get it all the time. Oh my God, you're a girl. Yeah, and I'm on the SWAT team. What's your point? What's between my legs has absolutely no bearing on my ability to do my job. And I don't run to the girl standard SWAT team. I have, I'm buddy dragging a 280-pound guy. I don't show up to a gunfight and someone's like, oh, she's a girl. Gotta take it easy. Different standards. No.
And by the way, I can say from experience, there are a lot of folks that would not have careers on this platform if it were not for Loki.
But
So,
Cookie Monster
he is the
Steve,
boss.
Lube Part 2, it's coming. Before Lube Part 2, there's some other amusing things. She's a girl, switch to easy mode. TB, to actually be surprised. Most of the time, they target me because they think it's easier to fight me than the guys.
And then they fuck around. That's the fuck around and find out solution.
So there's a gentleman named Pootie Carson. His real name's Al Carson. He's a former offensive lineman for Kansas City and a SWAT team guy. And, Pootie was my partner on the SWAT team. And we'd go into things and people were like, you'd look at him, big dude, offensive lineman. They'd look at me and they'd go, I pick her. And Pootie would always stand there and go, someone got popcorn. Like, no, not quite, Jerry.
I wouldn't want to put almost anybody up against you, either physically or mentally.
Yeah, Joshua, his name was Al. He's actually coming on the channel. He is a multiple level black belt in Krav Maga, and he teaches at the NFL Combine. He uses Krav to teach strength and agility to NFL players.
Interesting.
Some of which actually need it.
But yeah, Pootie was my SWAT partner. Everyone would look at him and be like, yeah, which is going to be the easier person to fight? I'm going
And
to
then,
take.
and then they
They're,
pick the
they're
wrong
like,
one.
I'm taking the girl.
Yeah.
You're more than welcome to try. It doesn't go well. Like
Yep.
I told
Fuck
in the
around
other.
and find out.
Yeah, I mean, like I said the other guy, all I can ever think of when someone tries to fight me is my patient yelling, level up.
Yeah.
Now that was the story.
Okay, hold
I
on.
still have to tell you the other one though.
Wait.
The only benefit that I would have on you is reach. Otherwise, I'm screwed. If you can actually grapple with me, I'm done.
My brother's 6'9". You don't have the reach he does, and I kick his ass all the time.
Fair enough.
I've been able to win fights with him since I was like 8. We got into a fist fight. He ended up with a cast and stitches. I had a shiner and a split lip, and my dad made the decision to make fun of him and shame him.
That didn't end well either.
Sorry, that is funny. That is objectively funny. I'm sorry.
You're more than welcome to try.
The level up. Syndicate later wants to know what the level up story is.
Yeah, you want to give the level up real quick?
Okay. I got called out on the Special Medical Response Unit within... Hold on.
Guys, I think Syndicate might have come over from me. So
No, I'm talking to D. Peterson. I know he's all good. He's 3 bottles of Fireball in, and I love him. He's been around since day one. Oh God, the degloving story that I told you earlier. But we had this dude, Syndicate, who looked like the guy from the Green Mile. And he went and ripped... He was fine when he was on his meds. Off his psych meds, no. So, yeah, he would rip street signs out of the ground and swing them at you. He was... And we knew tasing him didn't really work, and they were trying to figure out... They're like, come do something. You all have guns and tasers, and he's swinging a street sign. What would you like me to do about it? I'm not stupid. So they decide they're going to use 3 people and tase them at the same time. My man, I hear the clicking, so it happens at the same time. My man screamed, level up, and ripped the taser probes out.
This is where you find a nearby rooftop and a large magazine full of tranquilizer darts.
I got nothing. Level up. Okay, Raiden.
Yeah, he rode the lightning and actually rode it well.
But just the fact that the man yelled level up, I was like, I died.
Come on, buddy, bring the rain.
Pikachu evolved into Raichu.
Yeah, I have no idea. Like, that dude, I lost it. Krakow, I'll tell John that John heard the degloving one. Yeah, someone on rooftops of Crescent Hall might throw a flip-flop. I've had people with quarter sticks of dynamite. I mean, those aren't even the worst. Those aren't even the worst or funniest. They're not. And the sad thing is, you get to a point where you're like, how have you gotten so far in life at this point? Like, I have questions that I'm going to need you to answer for me. Hold on. I'm going to read this one to you verbatim because this was one of the best calls I have ever gone on. And
By best, you mean first.
No! I mean most amusing.
All right. You know what I meant.
Prepare to wince, John.
No, I'm not telling that one. Let's see. John, we were discussing on your channel about, things that, whatever is, someone called 911 for a 29-year-old female with a swollen thumb. They needed evaluated. It's been infected for 2 weeks. She Googled it and it said you should check it at the hospital, that you should have it checked. She tried calling the hospital. They said come in and get it checked. She doesn't have a ride.
What? What the fuck?
Wow. Just wow.
What?
How?
Please tell me it doesn't get worse, or that's the end of it.
That was that person.
Oh my
And then
god!
I had this one. The dispatch for this one.
I mean, there are plenty of people that use an ambulance as basically a taxi, as has been pointed out in the chat.
Hold on, will it see if it'll focus?
Just read it. It's
No.
we're not gonna be able to see it
Oh,
properly.
yeah, it says a 57-year-old female woke up with pain in her butt. That was the chief complaint to call 911.
Yay, that's not good.
Or how about this one? Oh, this one?
And by the way, when you're done with those,
Mm-hmm.
those end up becoming freaking lawsuits that I have to deal with. When I did the med-mal shit, I was amazed. And I don't have them anymore because I can't. It's technically client privileged. But I've seen plenty of shit like that. Because the second they actually get to the hospital and whatever happens, they call a goddamn lawyer. And then they sue my doctor.
This one was the mom called 911 from inside the laundromat. The son says his throat is on fire and he's having trouble breathing.
Did he drink bleach?
No, I was thinking like Tide Pods or something. Everybody under the sun went. Mom says you can cancel. The male ate spicy food. It's from Spicy Cheetos.
Why would you give
That's a
a small child Flamin' Hot Cheetos?
Yeah, it's not the stupidest one I've ever heard.
And here I thought my Santa Claus story was fucked up. That's just wrong.
I have had people smoke Viagra-laced crack. I had somebody stuck between two buildings. John looks confused.
I've seen that one too in a different circumstance, probably. That was New York, and it ended very poorly.
No, he literally decided to try to jump from one roof to the other to impress a girl, and it was a gap of like 3 feet.
Yeah, mine was a self-deletion case.
No, he literally handed her his beer and said, "Hold my beer and watch this," and tried to jump and missed and was stuck. Yikes. And there is a picture. Someone said we need to do like a restricted stream. We can do a restricted stream. I have pictures of the news articles where he's literally, we took the exterior wall of a Chipotle out to get him out.
Oh,
brick walls. He fell 3 floors, like 3 stories, and was stuck.
Yeah. Like I said, mine is less fun.
No, I mean, I've had a lot of
self-deletion case from 24 floors, and just
did they succeed in this? Did they succeed in the self-minecrafting?
They were able to release themselves from their corporeal bodies very effectively.
Excuse me, we have already discussed, Stephanie, Loki prefers creativity. And for all of those, I said that this patient's chief complaint was terminal deceleration syndrome. Positive patient to concrete interface.
That's why I always like high-speed lead injection.
No, it is blunt force penetrating trauma.
Is a round actually blunt force? I mean,
Mhm.
isn't that penetrating force?
Blunt or sharp force means there's a cutting edge or not.
Yeah, I guess a bullet is technically blunt.
Concrete poisoning. Yeah, there you go, Jerry.
Lord.
I literally got a phone call from like the lawyers for the hospital, and they were like, "While I appreciate you writing the chief complaint that way, please don't do that."
I told Loki this one, but Crocky might have not have heard it, and some of the people in the chat. I had somebody when I was a young associate, and this is the kind of thing, like, you gotta get a little bit of a sense of humor on human tragedy, which is not great, but you gotta do it.
I'm familiar with that black humor, John. Go for it.
It was a lady in a mobile scooter that was she mobile? No, I don't know. Either way, one or the other. It's been a while. She fell down. This is a 78-year-old that fell down an up escalator for like a minute and a half.
Ouch.
And it wasn't my case. It was one of the other associates in the bullpen who started cracking up. And I was like, what's going on? And both of us watched the video like 4 times.
Okay, Syndicate, I was 4, but here's the thing, it still happens. I've had many calls for that. They always tell me they fell on something. I just don't, yeah. But I can give you the best one that I had, John. I actually would have paid money to see you as the lawyer for it. I got a call in the, like, to a SNF, a nursing home, for a hit and run. Old person with serious injuries. And I'm like, shit, parking lot.
Nope, it was inside.
Yeah, but here's the problem. It was a hit and run scootering. But the reason, in the video, I almost peed myself laughing. The one lady accused the other one of cheating at bingo. And so the one lady is literally on video, John, with a walker going at like quarter speed walking down the hallway as the lady chases her down in a hover round and runs her over.
Oh my!
Oh dear.
Oh my god, that's amazing. All right, at some point we gotta do bingo. We gotta do
Yeah,
a
we're gonna rewatch the whole rats thing there, Texas.
Holy
Come
shit.
on.
But here's the thing, it was a hit and run scootering. And so I called medical command and I'm like, I don't know how to what protocols you want me to use, because she was technically hit by a motorized vehicle, but I don't think like the hit pedestrian struck by a car protocol is really applicable here.
Did they tell you to use it anyway?
No, the doctor just went, I'm going to need you to repeat that. What happened? So the worst part is, I looked at all the nurses and I'm like, neither of them was moving fast. It took like 6 minutes for the lady on the hover round to catch the lady with the walker. I'm like, why did you all stand there and watch this? Like, why did no one intervene? And they were like, we didn't think she'd run her over.
I have some theories of
But
liability.
what are they there for?
Okay, I'll give you one more last rando mode worse one before I go to bed.
But I do have some theories of liability on that case based upon the way you described the facts.
But the best part was the video. It went to court because the lady died.
Oh.
Like the lady with the walker, she died like 2 years later, but they were able to tie it to that assault.
Depends on your jurisdiction. Did they go criminally? Because usually it's the year and a day rule.
However, it was a criminal charge, but it was like 2 years later that she died.
I'm imagining that they lost the criminal charge.
But I'm just saying.
For folks in the chat,
That's not what they charged her with, because there's no statute of limitations on murder.
No, however,
I only got called for the civil trial.
No, so in terms of criminal liability, in many jurisdictions, I don't know where this was, and I probably don't practice there. There's what's called the year and a day rule, where even if you can link the death, if it's a year and a day beyond when it occurred, it's not criminal sanctionable. That's just the way that it is. It's an old common law rule, and it depends on your jurisdiction.
I got subpoenaed I was deposed for the civil one. They sued the nursing home too.
The civil ones, I have no problem with the civil one. The criminal one.
But do you understand how hard it was to sit through a deposition of that?
Do you know how many depositions I have done and sat through in my career?
Without laughing, rewatching that video over and over and over?
We usually don't.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking she was talking about.
We don't usually do them on video, but
they kept playing the video for me.
That would be a little bit tough to not.
That's what I'm saying. They kept playing the video.
Yeah.
And I was like, please stop. I can't. Like, I cannot answer this without like falling out of my chair laughing. Okay, right. Here's the last one that you're gonna die of laughter on. John, I'm not sure if this is gonna like hurt your brain or what. So I was a young paramedic, and well, unfortunately for me, young paramedics don't always get great calls. And I got called for an altered mental status. They've been altered for a while, whatever. John, I show up, they hand me the vitals. They have vitals from like 15 minutes ago. They're like, she didn't eat her breakfast, she's whatever. I walk in, the lady's in full rigor.
What the fuck?
Okay then. Yeah, Grandma, she doesn't really like to get up or say very much.
They're taking vitals on a corpse.
And somehow they got a pulse.
And when the lawyer looked at it, they were just like changing the number up and down by a couple. But she was in rigor.
It takes 20 minutes to go into rigor minimum.
At full rigor, an hour or more, I think.
She'd been dead for like 6 hours.
And they're still taking fucking vitals?
The night shift nurse was just pencil whipping them.
Who the fuck? Oh, sorry. I don't mean.
It gets worse and you're going to laugh.
It's been a long day. It's 1 a.m.
I know, but you're going to laugh.
For the love of God, they're taking vitals of a corpse.
No, they're not. Actually, what she's talking about.
Or they're making it up.
Yeah.
More common than it should be in nursing homes. They've worked a few of them. Yeah, they do. This is a thing that happens. And it's good for getting your nursing assistant's licensure killed. Stone dead.
So I get on the radio and I call for the coroner, and my supervisor calls me and he's like, "Are you sure she's dead? It was just an altered mental status. Like that escalated quickly."
Well, death is an altered mental status. I'll agree with
Agreed.
that.
Okay. And so that happens, and they made fun of me for the rest of the day because, like, I went on what was supposed to be a BS call, and we get called back to the same nursing home like 5 hours later for a cardiac arrest. Okay.
Okay.
I walk in and all I hear is ow, 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 ow. And I walk into the room and this nurse is going to town doing chest compressions as the guy laying in bed is yelling ow, ow, ow with every chest compression. And I said, "Can you stop?" And she looks at me and she goes, "Are you going to take over chest compressions?" And I said, "Sweetheart, I know
He's
when..."
not arrest. He's
Sweetheart,
responsive. What the?
sweetheart, when you learn CPR, and the first thing you do is walk up and say, hey, are you okay? If they answer, we can stop the algorithm. That does not mean, hey, are you okay? Move to next step. It stops. Like, if they answer, we stop. We don't just move to next step. And so I'm like talking to the dude, and I'm like, "Oh my God, sir, are you okay?" And he's like, "Yeah, my chest just hurts." Wait, John, I want to see your face because this is like the
No,
funniest.
I was going to go bang my head again. Well,
No, you don't. You'll laugh at this part.
Yeah.
No, I broke John.
Thunk, thunk, thunk.
Hey, are you
Right.
okay? Ow, 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 ow. And I'm like, we stop when they answer after, hey, are you okay? But okay. And I said, "Sir, honey, what happened?" He looks at me, John, and with the straight face of his 85-year-old self goes, "I don't know. I woke up and this bitch was on top of me and not in a good way."
Oh.
All right, that's somebody who is absolutely lucid. Like, just from medical, that's somebody who's absolutely lucid, non-medical distress. Jesus. No, I mean, it kind of sucks because I wondered, how do I follow that? Jesus. No, because I've seen circumstances where I've had people that were clients of former firms who they were the medical directors of like 3 or 4 nursing homes, and those are not fun.
Well, the average, do you know what the lifespan of the average chief nurse is at one of those places?
Tell me.
8 months. It's that bad. The average nursing assistant lasts about 3.
No, we have one of my former firms had an entire department that was basically nursing home team, and it was just bed sores because people did not know what the fuck they were doing.
But like old dudes answer, like I put it in quotes in my chart.
Oh, it's hilarious as hell.
And then I get yelled at. Okay.
Well, that's what he said.
But they were just like, "Excuse me, what?" My boss calls me and he's like, "Please tell me, you go on supposedly a call for a patient that's fine and they're dead, and then you go to a call and the patient's supposed to be dead and they're fine." Mm-hmm.
Call them like I see them. Sorry, boss.
I did have one.
How is it possible, honest to God, that somebody could be dead for 6 hours and they're still trying to resuscitate him.
No.
See,
Nobody. We don't try.
doing their job.
Like at some point, and you're saying that they actually notated change in mental state.
It was shift change.
So,
I mean,
whoever it was that was on the late shift, whoever it was that was working graveyards, just sat there at the nurse's station. Went, okay, it was that one this time. Let's go with that one that time, and that one that time. This individual may or may not have even seen the patient.
That one to me is more ridiculous.
Because
you're doing compressions on a corpse.
I used to work nursing homes as a mercenary. It's just no.
I'm starting to contemplate the idea. And by the way, Squirrel, I don't know your background. So I'm the attorney. Hello.
Yeah.
I know. But
I spent too long in military.
Playing like I did doing things like I do in the military.
Do nursing, and that didn't end well either.
But I mean, how is it that a body goes for 6 hours without somebody recording at time of death?
Nobody. That's just
they
it. Nobody
never left the nursing station. They'll just make up the vitals.
Nobody decided to call anyone. It just, oh my God, because you can't go into surgery that quickly.
The only way that happens is if no one checked on her at all. Period.
No one checked on her. They just made up vital signs.
That is a fantastic lawsuit.
Oh yeah, and not only a fantastic lawsuit, but the nursing assistant in question can be criminally charged. Any nurses in question can be criminally charged. And no matter what happens, they're going to lose their fucking licenses. Period.
God, they ought to. Everybody in that facility.
But
check on your patients every half hour or so.
But I love the fact that you're going to
have a problem.
The nurse doing CPR on the guy that was alive was across the hallway from the first patient.
Well, this is a problem that I dealt with when I was doing some of the nursing home cases. Is you're supposed to rotate the patient or move them every 2 or so hours to avoid the bed sore issue.
Yep, exactly right.
And they did not do that.
Obviously.
And that was a problem from a defense perspective. And these are people that aren't even dead. So clearly they weren't following that protocol.
They followed.
I don't know that they know how. It says the thing is this is part and parcel of the freaking training. These are things that you must do. These are things unless you're at a certain level you should not do. Just know, people.
Oh my God, that's.
You want to know why I didn't last long? Why I didn't last long in nursing? The money was good. It wasn't that good. But you're working directly for a nursing home. You're making minimum wage. If you want to make more, you get on. You sign on with an agency and not know where you're working, or the next day.
Well, I mean, like if you do locums and stuff, you can do pretty well.
Well, I did pretty well. I did pretty well once I went over to agency, but
yeah, the travel nursing is not bad. I'm kind of familiar with the salaries are, at least in Florida and New York, I have decent familiarity. But
in Washington state of the day, I was making almost 3 times what a regular nursing assistant would be.
And the same is
actually actual facility.
Yeah, for travel nurses, it's basically the same because I'm familiar with travel nursing in those 2 states because I've seen it as part of Discovery, and I'm not going to go into what those numbers are. But the same is true when it comes to physicians. And I was, dating a physician for a period of time. So,
Well, I can imagine not seeing each other for long periods of time.
I just love the. I don't know. I woke up and she was on top of me, and not in the good way. And that was my hero. And the only one worse.
Across the hall from the other lady. What's up with that?
Yeah, it was like the same hallway. The only thing the only other call I ever cried. Well, I mean, there's lots of them that were hysterical, and lots that were sad. But there was also one. I got called for cardiac arrest, whatever, and dude was ready to rock. And someone's like, well, it'll go down. Like maybe he's in rigor, whatever. And like we're dragging him onto the floor, doing CPR, and my EMT's like, his boner keeps poking me in the arm. And didn't realize it was a pump. He had one of those like implanted pump things. Mm-hmm.
But I also want to point out
we were like crying, laughing, trying to keep a straight face, taking him to the hospital.
I also want to point out to folks on the prior one where he said, woke me up but not in a good way. But
he needed surgery, broke all his ribs.
That's what I was going to say, is that if you're doing proper chest compressions, you're going to break ribs. And if you are not actually in need of that, that is assault. Yes. And battery. I mean, it depends upon your jurisdiction. So, for instance, like in New York, I've said it before, New York does not have battery as a separate criminal
offense
charge. But that is absolutely assault and battery. If you don't actually need that, I'm not saying that they should have charged it, but for the love of God, the incompetence and in a civil circumstance, pointing that out is not awful. Oh my God.
I laugh.
Jerry Mitchell. Let me just highlight that.
It wasn't it, no. Yes.
Yeah.
I've heard that call, but then I've also heard I've also seen junkies on street corners going, I was murdered. So
yeah.
I mean,
the cardiac arrest patient talking was like my favorite. I was like, my guy.
And by the way, not for nothing, that could actually cause additional harm.
It did. He needed surgery because he had to have his sternum wired.
Well, there you go. But I was going to say even it could cause additional cardiac harm because let's say that he had a flutter or something and you start providing chest compressions while the heart's still functioning, you could have turned it off.
Yeah.
That is possible.
You can do that with a taser too, which is why I get annoyed when people say non-lethal weapons.
It's less than lethal.
Yeah, tell that to the heart patient that you just tasered.
Yeah, that you just shut down their pacemaker.
Well, no, you can reset their heart to whatever frequency that taser runs at.
Yeah,
I have seen that happen.
I interned back in high school at an arrhythmia center on Long Island, and I'm a little familiar, but there are so many things that can go wrong.
Yeah,
just to give you a case here. I started off my career in the Navy as an electronics technician. I watched some guy reach into a cabinet, try to do something, and I don't think he even knew what he was up to. I think he was actually trying to disconnect a data cable so that he could test something, so he could test the thing. And he reached over, he grabbed the power cable and got his thumb over the end of it and made all the appropriate connections.
Mm-hmm.
And he fell out immediately. 440 volts at 60 hertz across his heart. He died in sick bay about 20 minutes later.
So
You mean 400 amps, right?
No, 400 volts. 400 volts at about 20 amps.
All right.
Moving at
I
60.
mean, what is it? It's like 2 milliamps across the heart will kill you.
At an amp will fry you solid. Yeah, he's pretty stuck. He managed to survive the initial hit. It threw him back, but still. It took it. They managed to keep him alive on the way to sick bay and in sick bay for about 20 minutes, and then he was just done.
Yeah,
there was actually no saving him at all, but that was beside the point.
And Loki can correct me if I'm mistaken. Volts are not necessarily the issue. The issue is the amperage, and I think that it's like 20 milliamps across the heart will kill you.
200.
Somewhere in that ballpark.
200.
200? Yeah.
200 milliamps across the heart will toss you into a nice cardiac arrest. And on the off chance that it doesn't, your heart will try and run at the same speed whatever the fuck it was you were hit with does.
Yeah.
So
your heart doesn't do 60 beats a second. It just doesn't.
No, it does not.
It'll just seize.
So here's the thing. Next time someone that you know gets a pacemaker, take your phone, turn your Bluetooth on, and put it on scan.
Your phone will pick it up.
Your phone will pick up the pacemaker. My dad's is named Sparky.
That's actually cool advice.
And yes, Jerry, that was 440. We were working in an HVAC area that day. I told him not to do that.
Well, again,
because the actual procedure for that was grab the object grab the object, pull it out, tip it down, and then grab the cable.
Well, but that's the same thing. Is you can have 10,000 volts. It doesn't matter. The issue is what is the amperage when it actually contacts.
Okay.
Volt. This is the old electrician.
Ohm's law. You're talking
Volts
about Ohm's law.
Amps kill.
Volts hurt a lot.
To the 13 of you that have stuck with us through the randomness and all the stupidity.
Well, the purpose here was to be random, wasn't it? Have kind of a cathartic
and have fun.
I've been having fun.
Remind me later,
Oh, yeah.
John. I'll tell you and Stephanie the Santa Claus story.
Yeah.
Seriously fucked up.
But I'm going to crash. So I will catch you tomorrow, guys. Look at my page tomorrow. I'll invite John and Squirrel, of course. And then it'll be earlier than tonight. I have a whole bunch of people that couldn't make it tonight for reasons. So I will catch you guys later. Thanks for hanging out. Love y'all. Night, night.
Sounds good to me.
Peace.